So with your kind of well-being hat on, I was quite struck by the news today that Wes Streeting, the Health Secretary, has ordered this review into the rise in mental health conditions being diagnosed, so mental health issues, anxiety, ADHD, autism, all of these, of course, partly leading to an increased claim in benefits. Do you think we're over-medicalising something that is just sort of a normal part of life?
So the first thing to say is that Peter Fonagy, who's been asked to do this report, who's a clinical psychologist, it's really welcome that we've got somebody looking at the evidence across the board to establish an answer to that question, because I think people are asking it. We see big variation across the country from mental health trust to mental health trust about what kind of diagnosis people get. I think there's questions that should be asked about that variation. But I'm also really pleased that today the government are announcing SEND support in family hubs. So this means families will be able to get support really early on, even without a diagnosis. And one of the features of how broken our SEND system is at the moment is parents battling to get that diagnosis, that ticket, in order to get any kind of help.
What you spoke there, because I do want to talk about the special needs stuff. I think it's really, really important. You spoke there about how people are asking the question about whether there's an overdiagnosis for some mental health conditions when it comes to benefits. And I just wonder, is it the same, do you think, for education and special needs in particular? I mean, we have seen a big rise in children getting extra support in class for these conditions too. It's up 13% this year alone. The trajectory is only one way.
So I think multiple things can be true at the same time, which is parents seeing things they're worried about for their children and wanting some sort of support and help. And the current system doesn't put that help and support in early enough. And that takes people down the path of pursuing a diagnosis, when actually, if schools and other professionals could get in earlier, that would make a big difference. So we're saying we're going to put SEND specialists into every family hub over the next few years to help do that. And at the same time, there are young people, young adults as well as children, who have clearly got very severe needs, and the system at the moment isn't able to put that support in early or often enough of it to make the difference.
I absolutely accept that, you know, there are a lot of kids who have got severe needs, the system's failing them, right? You know, I speak to parents, I see them on the school run who are battling and exasperated because of it. But I guess my question is, are there some people who are claiming for this stuff that shouldn't be? And I'm thinking in particular, like middle-class parents who are potentially gaming the system. I looked at the Sutton Trust report. Among all children with special and educational needs, those from more affluent homes are more likely to get an ECHP, in Part 3 families spending more money on the process, 68% of middle-class families spending money on it, 28% of working-class parents, 11% of middle-class parents spent over £5,000 on their application. I mean, is this a problem?
Well, look, we're doing 3 bits of work at the moment. We're doing the SEND review in my department.
But what's your assessment on that? Because I know the work you're doing, and I get that. But the question is, which I think is kind of fundamental, is, are too many parents gaming the system to claim for special needs? And is that why we've seen this massive increase?
Look, we need a scientific answer to that question rather than lots of people's general opinions.
What's your view? You're the children's minister.
Peter Fonagy's going to look at it. Look, I am worried. You know, in my constituency, I've got 500 people under the age of 25 who are out of work with mental health conditions. And I know from speaking to many of them and their parents that part of what they're struggling with is the social anxiety that comes from not being in work and the overlap between conditions with a diagnosis and the social interaction aspects of some of these conditions, where actually you can end up retreating from the world, feeling more anxious, being more lonely and depressed. And that is a cycle that people can get themselves stuck in. And what we need is support for young people to get them into work. The government's got unprecedented levels that we've announced on that. And in the special educational needs system, not just support for young people, but support for families to help children who might be struggling. So we're going to look at the evidence. It's really welcome that we're doing this scientific review for that reason.
Can I ask you about the special needs budget? Because obviously there's been this change, right? Central government is going to take over funding from councils, but there is this £6 billion black hole by 2028. To put it in context, that's 9% of the entire school's budget. So it feels unlikely that that's going to fall completely on the Department for Education. What's going on with that budget?
The first thing to say is that won't come out of school budgets. What has happened here, and it's a sort of technical accounting issue, is that the government have bit the bullet on the SEND system and how bust it has become, because lots of local authorities across the country have racked up big deficits. It's not sustainable to leave local authorities carrying these deficits because of a broken national system.
Is it sustainable for it to keep going up? £6 billion, you're going to find that money?
So what we've done is we've made sure that the OBR have scored that deficit. It's being registered. Government spends £1.2 trillion. We're going to make sure in the next spending review we have got the plan and it's being implemented to fix the SEND system, and school budgets will not be carrying that deficit.
Are you going to try and bring the cost down? This is, I guess, it's my kind of key issue here. Is the bill for special needs unsustainable?
We'll be setting out the SEND reforms early in the new year, but the thing to say here, and my area of specialism is children's social care, and I think there are some parallels where the broken nature of the system driving late-stage crisis costs is pushing up the long-term bill. And at the same time, we're cutting help earlier on. There are similar dynamics at play in special educational needs, and there's a benefit for children, families and taxpayers in getting it right.
You've taken the decision, not you personally, the government has taken the decision to postpone 4 mayoral elections again, right? Nigel Farage has said, for the second year running, this failing Labour government will now cancel elections in areas they fear reform will win. These are the actions of despots, not Democrats.
Well, I'd say Nigel pulled the other one. I represent a constituency in Cumbria. We're going to have a mayoral election in Cumbria. The reason we're going ahead in 2027, it's all very technical, but the reason we're going ahead in 2027 is that we have unitary local authorities that have already been reorganised. The other parts of the country that are having a postponement have still got districts and county levels to be reorganised.
It's the second year in a row, though. It's not like this just happened a couple of months ago.
Well, to be fair, we have only recently become the government. This is a new set of devolution that we're bringing forward. Local authorities
not that recent.
Organise
How
themselves.
long have you... It's over a year.
Well, hang on. The last government had 14 years to do devolution properly, and we got barely anywhere on it. So we're speeding this up in a major way, pushing power down to communities. Doing that means elected mayors, yes, but also getting money into these areas for new economic regeneration. And the final thing is, the people who are saying this are the same people who not that many years ago were proroguing Parliament. We'll take no lectures from these people about democracy, protecting it, freedom of speech and all the rest of it. It's just not serious. We
know these local elections can be difficult for Labour, right? There's talk about a leadership challenge for Keir Starmer coming after them. You've now postponed them, 4 of them. I mean, you can see how it looks a bit suspicious.
There are elections taking place next year. So there will be elections taking place next year. Local authorities where they're still in 2 tiers and they haven't reorganised that basic foundation of being a unitary council, it would be a rush to push for that now rather than get it right. But we're not delaying the money that's going into those communities.
OK, thanks very much indeed. Josh MacAlister is talking to us.